Yo, gentlemen's game back. Many years ago in school, I remember going on a field trip to some science museum with my class. Now, I hated science back then, but at least I got to spend a day outside of class with Greg, my best friend at the time, who convinced his older brother Anthony to come as a chaperone. Anthony was in college, about 2-3 years older than us, which back then seemed like a pretty big age gap. To be honest, that trip was so long ago, I forget a lot of the specific details of everything we did that day, but I do remember one thing vividly, which was that wherever we went, it seemed like girls everywhere just seemed to love Anthony, like they were magnetically drawn to him. And to be honest, I couldn't blame them. He was charming, talkative, joking around with pretty much everyone. His eye contact was always strong, and he just carried himself with this aura of positive self-confidence. And it seemed like whatever he said, even if it wasn't super clever or witty, just seemed to work, cause he'd be so casual about it, like he truly didn't care even if he did sound awkward. I remember at one point, even some of the girls in my class started asking Greg, "Hey, who's your brother? He's cute." That was the first time I ever thought to myself, man, this guy is just smooth. I need to learn how to be more like this. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want, isn't it? To be more smooth with girls. To always seem like we know the perfect line to say, like everything we do is just natural and effortless. Well, even though it probably seems that way from the outside, when you take a closer look, you'll find that being smooth is actually more of a mindset. Now, I can already picture the dozens of people rolling their eyes and saying, "That's BS, it's all about looks. If you're good looking, then being smooth won't matter." And look, I'm not gonna lie and say that looks don't matter at all. You definitely will have an easier time being smooth if you're good looking. But, like I said in one of my previous videos, you can control your looks to a pretty large extent. Fitness, style, grooming. Maximize these and I guarantee that you'll be at least presentable enough where, if you learned how to be smooth, you would have little problems with women. Okay, so back to this mindset I was talking about on how to be smooth. From my own observations and life experiences, being smooth is all about being in control. I know a lot of people are gonna misunderstand me when they hear in control. No, I don't mean some guy aggressively barking orders and people doing whatever he says, never challenging him. I'm not talking about a guy who manipulates or undermines people around him in order to stay in control. People who do the things that I just mentioned aren't truly in control because they feel the need to force things to go their way. You can tell that they're actually insecure on the inside. A good example of this would be a typical school bully. What I mean when I say that being smooth is about being in control is that you're in control of yourself, not other people. You see, guys who are smooth are unreactive. They're in control of themselves and their own emotions. They never seem too impressed or excited by anything because they've already seen it all. They never seem too fazed by other people because they know when to take someone's word seriously and when not to. Guys who are smooth just always seem to be relaxed, with this steadiness, this sense of ease and effortlessness where, if any problems arose, they'd calmly handle the situation, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction to it. To illustrate this, let me tell you a story about something that happened to me at a party I was at a few months ago. I was there with just a few friends, enjoying a Friday night. In the corner of my eye, I see this really cute girl by the pool, so I go on over and start making small talk. She was kinda neutral about the whole thing. I could tell she didn't mind talking to me, but she wasn't necessarily giving me many signs of interest. I remember I was supposed to meet my friend by the bar, so I tell her, "Hey, my bad. I have to meet my buddy. I'll be right back." I turn to walk away, and then the weirdest thing happens to me. Some bald, big burly guy I never met before comes straight up to my face and yells, "You say something to me?" You know those movie moments where the camera stops and you hear the zerp sound and everyone goes silent and stares? Yeah, it was kinda like that. Everyone had this look on their face of, what the hell, is this guy crazy? I looked into his eyes and could tell he was probably on some type of drug. He looked really angry, almost out of it. "Well, I said you say something to me?" he yelled again. Honestly, for some reason I kinda had a feeling he wasn't going to actually do anything. He was probably just having too wild of a night. So I smiled and said, "I'm gentleman's game, what's up, buddy?" I stared right into his eyes with this smile, and then his look of anger eventually turned into this look of confusion. Then I just walk off to meet my friends. The security comes shortly after that and escorts the man out. It turns out he really was high on some drugs he did in the bathroom. Anyways, I tell my friends what just happened and we all have a pretty good laugh about it. Then we go back inside the club and I actually bump into the same girl as before, only this time she was way more receptive and flirty with me. It turns out she saw how I handled the situation with the guy, how I was unreactive and kinda smooth in how I finessed the situation so that nothing bad happened. That's just one example of embodying this mindset of being in control of a bad situation. Another one could be being unreactive to girls. Like, I remember this other time this girl was obviously interested in my friend and said, "Damn, I think I have to go in like 20 minutes. And he looks at her, smiles and says, "Oh, okay, looks like I'll have to make you fall in love with me within 20 minutes. Completely unfazed, unreactive, smiling and being playful. That was pretty damn smooth. So the point I'm making here is that if you adopt this mindset of being in control of yourself, your emotions and reactions, not being too fazed by anything, you'll have a much stronger core as an overall attractive man. And if you think about it, that's why guys who are smooth with girls can make things like kissing her or getting her number seem so casual because they treat it like it's no big deal. When someone who's not smooth tries to go for a kiss, he is not in control of his emotions. He's hesitating, second-guessing himself. He's thinking, oh, what if she rejects me? It'll be so awkward. And she can sense this hesitation and weakness, which more often than not leads to her getting turned off. The guy who's smooth, however, is once again steady, in control of himself. He can say or do things to escalate romantically and sexually with a girl with no hesitation. And if she rejects him or gives him some test, he's unfazed by it, completely unreactive, and just goes back to having a good time. So maybe you're listening to this now realizing that for the most part, you're not in control of your emotions. I mean, be completely honest with yourself. Do you have a tendency to overreact? Do you get excited or anxious too easily around women? If the answer is yes and you want to improve, I suggest two things. Number one, as cliche as it sounds, is to pick up some sort of meditation practice. Meditation is very helpful for learning how to be smooth and steady by forcing you to be mindful of where your attention is going. Eventually, you'll get to a point where, whenever you have a negative or anxious thought, you just learn to let it go, like a breath of air. A really good book I suggest to look into for an introduction to being mindful and present is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The second suggestion I have to improve being in control of yourself is to look into the philosophy known as Stoicism. Now, you could spend hours on YouTube browsing Stoicism videos on what it means and all of its tenets, so I'm not going to get into some verbal spiel about Hellenistic philosophy. But if I had to describe Stoicism in just one sentence, I would use Epictetus's quote, "It's not things that upset us, it's our judgment about things." So, kind of similar to Shakespeare's quote, "Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so." If you could really learn to internalize this, you'll really drive home that mindset of being in control of yourself. You'll learn to realize that, hey, I know I'm feeling really nervous right now to go up to this girl, but logically speaking, there's nothing too bad that'll happen. It's not like I'm gonna die or anything. You know what? Whatever happens, it's no big deal. I really don't care. A book I suggest to get started on Stoicism is Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic. If you follow these two suggestions I made, eventually you'll learn that, at the end of the day, being smooth and unreactive comes from being so in control of yourself that nothing really phases you. You'll learn to not take anything too seriously, especially the words and actions of other people. Now, if you're currently the complete opposite of smooth, and you want to eventually be very smooth with girls, I'd say there's typically about 3 phases you're gonna have to go through. The first is the painful period. This is when you try to be smooth, but more often than not, you're gonna come off as a bit cringy or try hard. Now again, this is the pain period and it's absolutely gonna suck, and it's where a lot of guys simply give up. But if you persist through this pain period of learning and growth, I promise that you'll eventually reach the second phase. The second phase is where after some experience, you're more smooth and occasionally even have moments where you seem very smooth. Then finally, after even more experiences going out, interacting with girls, etc., you'll eventually reach the third phase, where you just are smooth. You're completely in control of yourself and don't have to fake anything. It's just naturally a part of you. So, to recap, today we learned what it means to be smooth, which just means that you have control over yourself, your emotions, and your reactions. You're unreactive, relaxed, and steady. And 2 resources to help you improve on these qualities are meditation and Stoic philosophy. That's it for the video. And real quick, I have an announcement to make. I actually wrote a 5-page PDF called The Fundamentals of Attraction. Basically, if someone asked me for the most fundamental advice for guys who want to be more attractive to girls, the advice would be in here. It's completely free. All you have to do is sign up in the link below. I also put the link in my channel banner, so you guys can also find it there. And besides that, I just want to give a quick thank you to all the new subscribers. These past 2 months have been absolutely insane for the growth of the channel. We're not far away from 100k subscribers, which is just insane to me. Next week, I have another great video planned, so make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, peace.